You know, the fate of all 8 billion of us, it can now be decided by a single phone call, or a single tweet, or just one completely unpredictable move. In this new game of global power, all the old rules, they're gone. And the world, well, it's starting to burn.
World War III. For most of our lives, that phrase felt like a ghost, right? Something from the history books. But now, it's a very real, very terrifying possibility. Nuclear threats are suddenly back on the table. Global markets are on a knife's edge. This is no longer a what-if scenario. The countdown, it might have already begun. Think about this line for a second. A single phone call could decide if your city sees tomorrow. That's not just a dramatic statement. That's the fragile reality of the world we're living in right now. But look, this didn't just happen overnight. This was a deliberate, calculated shift in how power works on a global scale. And no, this isn't just a theory. It's happening right now. In just the last few days, 3 different world leaders have actually threatened the nuclear option. The old language of diplomacy, it's basically dead. And what's replaced it? The language of brinkmanship. So the question isn't if the world is getting more dangerous. The real question is why.
Okay, to really understand what's happening, we have to connect some dots. Dots that, frankly, world powers probably don't want you to see. Because behind all this chaos, there's a strategy. There's a design. This is how you bring an entire world to the brink of disaster.
The whole global chessboard is already on fire. You've got Ukraine, which is bleeding. Gaza is burning. Taiwan is constantly on edge. And the entire Middle East, it feels like a powder keg, just waiting for a single spark. But these fires weren't set by accident. No, they were fueled by a massive vacuum of power.
Now, these conflicts, they're just the symptoms. The disease is this dangerous void that's opened up at the very center of world power. See, for about 70 years, America kind of played the role of the world's policeman, for better or worse. But what happens when the policeman just steps back? Well, it leaves the door wide open for the wolves. So, the experts have a term for this. They call it a power transition period. But it's actually much simpler than that. Just imagine a teacher suddenly leaving a classroom full of kids. What happens? Chaos, right? The bullies get bolder. Now, imagine that classroom is the entire planet, and the bullies have nuclear weapons. You see, for years, our adversaries have been watching, waiting, and preparing for this exact moment. And the testing has already begun. Just look at this number. A 340% increase in military tensions in the South China Sea. Now, this isn't random aggression. It is a calculated probe. It's a test of resolve aimed at a superpower in one of the most vital waterways on the entire planet. And it's not just happening in the Pacific. All around the world, border conflicts are up by 67%. 23 different countries have announced record-high defense budgets. This isn't a coincidence, people. This is a global arms race, and it's been triggered by one single shift in the balance of power. But here's the thing. The greatest danger isn't the power vacuum itself. It's the new doctrine that has rushed in to fill it. And it's not a strategy of war. It's a strategy of pure chaos. It's a very dangerous game called the unpredictability doctrine. This is what's known as strategic uncertainty. See, in the old world, predictability was like currency. Every nation knew the red lines. They knew the consequences if they crossed them. But in this new world, the red lines are gone. And every single geopolitical move has suddenly become a high-stakes, catastrophic guessing game. Just look at the difference here. We've gone from a world built on predictable alliances and diplomatic norms to one based on temporary deals and contradictory statements. The goal isn't stability anymore. The goal is just to keep everyone guessing, all the time. And believe me, the world is taking notes. Let's take Ukraine. When the United States even hints that aid might be cut, what does Russia see? They don't see a path to peace. They see an opportunity. So they escalate their attacks because they believe they just have to wait out a crumbling alliance. And just like that, uncertainty becomes a weapon. And it gets crazier. Even off-the-cuff remarks become huge geopolitical signals. When there's talk about taking over the Panama Canal or buying Greenland, that's not just rhetoric. It's a direct message to countries like Russia and China that the old rules against territorial expansion, well, they might not apply anymore. Now, imagine taking this unpredictability and dropping it into a place like the Middle East. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. When U.S. policy flip-flops from one day to the next, it forces a country like Iran to play a terrifying guessing game. Should we escalate, de-escalate, wait and see? In a region this volatile, one wrong guess could ignite the entire world. And this is the real danger. It's not just about one leader's actions anymore. It's about the reactions of everyone else on the world stage. Because in this new age of chaos, an entire generation of strongman leaders has been emboldened. They don't see a crisis. They see a golden opportunity. You've got Putin in Russia, Xi in China, Erdogan in Turkey. These are the new power players. They're leaders who thrive on deals, on transactions, on displays of strength. For them, this new chaotic world, it's comfortable territory. It's a world that finally plays by their rules. What we're seeing is the collapse of the entire post-World War II order, a system that was built, imperfectly sure, but built on the ideas of collective security and international law, is being replaced by a much older, much more brutal philosophy. Might makes right. Now, I know all of this can seem like some distant, high-stakes game of chess, but you are not just a spectator in this. In this new global conflict, the front lines, they run directly to your front door. Here's how this all affects you personally. So instability in the Middle East, you pay for that every time you fill up your car. Tensions in Asia, the price of almost everything you buy goes up. A cyber attack on the other side of the world, it could freeze your bank account tomorrow. A distant war could actually cost you your job. And in the absolute worst-case scenario, nuclear fallout doesn't respect borders. This isn't their war, it's ours. Look, in the face of all this, it is really easy to feel powerless. But knowledge is the first step. Understanding the game is how you begin to change the rules. So the question is, what can we actually do? First things first, stay informed, but don't be scared. In an age of chaos, knowledge is your best shield. Second, demand accountability from all of our leaders. Third, champion diplomacy. It is never a sign of weakness, it is the ultimate show of strength. And finally, we have to learn from the past, because the ghosts of history, they're knocking at our door right now. The future isn't written yet, but the past, it offers a chillingly clear warning. The world is on a knife's edge, and history is watching us. The only question is, will we finally learn from it this time, or are we simply doomed to repeat it?